All right, guys, so today is the 19th of July. We're doing another Sunday scan. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see how far I get. As usual, baby sleeping, so I think we're good, but we'll see how far we can get without any interruption. But tonight, I wanted to go over the top 3 things that will make you a better trader. It's been a crazy year, obviously. It's really, if you're a trader this year, this is the year to have your career year, have your career trades. And I don't want it to be discouraging to people that are not there. They're not doing that yet. However, if you keep on doing what you're doing and reviewing the tape, reviewing what you're doing, reviewing your day-to-day and how you can improve yourself, you will get there. And first and foremost, Nathan Gia. So you get, actually, you said you bought a copy of Momo Traders. So this week was for Momo Traders, but we'll send you a t-shirt. So email me, webmaster@investorsunderground.com. You are the winner this week. So next week will be Momo Traders for whomever leaves comments, your biggest takeaway. Like I said, I wanted to do some Q&A and things like that. I'll probably try to do it this week. Last week we ended up doing a webinar on Wednesday and just ran out of time. But that's definitely something that we're going to be starting to do, or at least that's the goal. And it'll be free just like these Sunday scans. Most common questions that I get, every single day, like I posted some comments about E-Trade, and everybody's like, I thought you used Centerpoint. I do. I use Centerpoint for about 80% of my volume, maybe about 70-80%. And then I use E-Trade for any of the big block type situations. If I'm trading a couple 100,000 shares of, let's just say a 50 to $1 to $1.50 type of stock. And I use E-Trade for the IRA as well. So I have a IRA that I trade there. One of the biggest things that they've added over the last, I think, 6 to 8 months is margin on IRAs, and not in the sense that it's 4-to-1, but rather that it is, your cash clears right away. So it literally is another trading account, and because of that, I've been able to get exponential returns this year on that account, whereas I wouldn't have been able to do so, otherwise. Because normally you have to think about what you're doing. You got to think about, all right, well, if I take this off, then I'm not going to be able to make it. It's almost like you're under the pattern day trade rule, right? You can still rebuy stuff, but you can't sell it because it's not settled cash. So because of that change, it eliminated that, and it's literally just, trade away. So that's been a huge value add for me anyway, because it allowed me to get that account up pretty massively this year. So swings have been phenomenal. A lot of the questions that I get is, are you just a short seller? But my IRA, I think it just passed about 500% on the year. You can't short an IRA. So I always give ideas for bigger picture. I call it kind of like a bigger picture idea. And, it's kind of like some of the ones that I gave last week on Scan. If you guys paid attention, HHT, that was 120. And it hit $2 on Friday. So I sold the majority of it out. That was great. IBIO has been another one. ASTC has been another one. So the key is for me to scale into what's working and don't scale into what's not, right? So you want to be proven that they are going to continue to break out, that they are doing what you thought, that you're not chasing that entry. For example, ARC, I think it was on, let me just make sure. Yeah, ARC, for example, it's just a cheap dollar stock, right? But it popped up on a headline. The difference between chasing that headline and actually thinking about what would a proper entry be is the difference between, maybe being patient on a trade and letting it work versus chasing it and then blowing it out because it was a loser. So I want you guys to think about that when you're entering these types of trades. But for the most part, these things have been insane. So we'll get back to that in a moment. Yes, like I said, E-Trade, I use all the time. I use every single day. I have a couple accounts there. But like I said, main one for trading, main one for swing trades, IRA type situation. Typically, I take my swing shorts there. just because I like to clear out my center point accounts every single day. I like to just come to the market. I don't want to, be staring at something down and have it throw me off for the day. I want to come clear slate every single morning, as amped up, ready to go as I am, without anything that's gonna, kind of knock me off my A game. So that's how I treat my center point accounts. Which, if you don't have center point, you're at a disadvantage to everybody that does. So you definitely need that. And then everybody always asks me about platforms, and I'm wearing this shirt today. But Dash Trader I've used since day one. Platforms are super, super, super sticky. I recommend you try out a bunch of different ones. Sometimes simpler is the better. Sometimes the prettiest charts are not the best charts, right? DAS might look like it's not as pretty as some of the other ones, but the functionality and just, what it does, it just blows the cover off everybody else. So for me, I like that simplicity. I love the charts. I hope they never change. But I've started to use hotkeys more and more. They've got built-in screen recorder. One of the biggest things that I tell people in the room, the way that you learn is by watching that action over, right? You want to learn how to read tape. You want to learn why this stuff there. You want to learn how to react to this or that. Well, every single time there's a big, transition of shares that I'm anticipating happening, such as Genie, you saw me tweet that about 3 minutes before it topped. I said, here it comes, put on your recorders. That's the key. That's how you learn this stuff. And DAS has one built in. I use different ones just to, kind of figure out which are the best style for what I'm doing. I'm streaming some stuff during the day. I'm recording all of my trades during the day live. I'm doing a lot of different things, so I need stuff that doesn't bog down my computer. But I've also tried out the DAS recorder, and that's great. So anybody that wants to record, use that. But other than that, the functionality, the charts, everything about it is second to none. So I'd highly recommend them. I dug out my shirt today for that one. So without a doubt, try it. They offer a 2-week trial. You should check them all out. Most people that get on the platform don't leave. So just a warning to you, once you're on there for 2 weeks or a month or two, you're probably stuck for life, like me. So, all right, let's get into the 3 things that will make you a better trader. First is just stop. Stop making excuses. Stop looking to scapegoats. Stop, kind of thinking what you could blame it on, or, for example, somebody had said, oh, this is too vague for me to understand. Well, if you scrolled up 2 lines and read the entire game plan, you would understand what the game plan is. So stop looking for the easy way out. Stop looking to be told what to do. It's all going to come with time. But if you are always expecting to be, handed that silver platter, you're always going to be expecting that silver platter, and you're always going to be 1 step behind. The goal is to be that 1 step ahead. So if you're always looking, feed me, feed me, feed me, you're always going to be 1 step behind. So our goal at IU, as working with traders and things like that, is to teach you how to be self-sufficient, teach you how to fish, teach you how to come up with your own scans, and teach you how to become a better trader. That's it in a nutshell. So, if you're always asking the simple questions that can be Googled, look, I'm all about helping people. I help people all day long, if they ask educated questions. If we have a section that says getting started, read this before you enter chat, and it has all these general terminology questions, and then somebody asks me what red to green means, or what leading means, or what ABCD breakout means, things like that, then do you think I am inclined to help that person? No. I want to help people that want to help themselves, right? And you can tell right away who is in it to, as a hobby, and who really, really is interested in doing this long term. And, sometimes people see that as cold. Sometimes people are like, well, Nate's a jerk. But on day one, I wish I had somebody like that to give me that, that boot, that kick to say, hey, get it together. Do you want this or not? So that is my thoughts on that. That's number one. Number two, or actually part of number one was David Goggins. I've said this before, said it this weekend, I'll say it again. If you guys need that kick in the butt to stop making excuses, to realize that like you don't have it that hard, you can do better, you can find more time, you can do more, read David Goggins' book. Actually listen to the audiobook, because if you're like me, I have zero attention span whatsoever. But he did an audiobook, and it's great. And you can listen to it in the car, you can listen to the gym, whatever you want to do. It's very easy to listen to. And you will end that book with a new outlook on not necessarily life, but just on your day-to-day. You're going to change some of the things that you do, and you're going to, I think, end up being a better trader because of it. It has zero to do with trading. But that mindset, just like I've talked about working out and all that kind of stuff, is exactly where you need to be focused, exactly where you need to be as a trader. And that's hard to teach, but it does a great job doing that. So that's number one. Number two is think about this in terms of a professional athlete, right? You've got to put in the work, right? So if you're always asking those questions, it's no different than, not really putting in the work yourself, right? So, Tom Brady, for example, and I'm sure other quarterbacks do it too, but one thing that reminded me, Tom versus time. Whether you love Brady or not, doesn't really matter. But watch the Tom versus time series and see how much he puts into football off the field, right? It's not just showing up, right? You can't just show up and win Super Bowls. You can't just show up and be in shape. You can't just show up and throw the ball. You have to continually perfect what you're doing, finding better and better ways, and keep on working to get stronger and stronger and stronger, right? So that is a great one as well, Tom versus time. I loved watching it. Obviously, Patriots fan as well, Brady fan, but you don't need to be, and throw whatever opinion you have of him if you're not from New England, because obviously you don't like him, but watch it, because it's going to help you as well, kind of show you that you do need to put in the time. And so with that said, that is the difference between being good and great. You could show up and make a couple $100 a year. You could show up and do here in decent trading, but how do you get to that next level? How do you get to where you've always wanted to be? How do you get there? You got to put in the work. So that's number two. Thinking about it in terms of professional athletes. Pretend you're a professional athlete. You are. You can be. But it's just whether or not you have the drive to get there, right? Same thing with people that run marathons, or the PMC, which is the 192, 93, 95, I don't remember how many miles. But you can't just bring your bike there and go 200 miles. It's just not going to happen. You got to build up. You got to put in the work ahead of time. And number three is consistency on and off the field. Doing the same thing every single day. It's been tough the last 2 months because my wife does it all. But it's my job at 5 a.m. to take over. And so normally, I might be sleeping till 5:30, 6, kind of do my thing in the morning, check the morning gappers, maybe do a little bit of fundamental type research, and then maybe get a feel for what I'm going to borrow, get a feel for what I might play that day. And then there's just this whole process that I go through, and that's thrown out the window, depending if he's sleeping, my new son, or if he needs to be fed, or if he's crying. So it's very discombobulated right now. But I'm making it, it's consistent, I'm making it work, I'm figuring it out, and we have a good system. So as long as you have that same system of some type of consistency, I will watch him as long as I can until it becomes, more of a liability than, safe. I don't want to be unsafe in the market because I've got to hold him one-handed while feeding him. So I will do as much as I can until 8:30, 8:40. If he's still sleeping until 9, that's fine. So I try to do as much as I can ahead, but that's the only thing that is throwing me off. But otherwise, same thing every single morning. Same thing. Same thing every single day, same thing every single night. And, same thing, I've talked to a lot of traders. A lot of traders, great traders that I know, don't drink during the week. You know, you can't wake up in the morning. You're groggy. Doesn't mean you're getting drunk or anything, but just even 1 or 2 drinks, right? You need that extra hour and a half of sleep. But that hour and a half of extra sleep, somebody's putting in the work and you're not. So you've got that, and then the same process, which I am a continually broken record about, is Avidity Fitness. I've challenged all of you guys to join, and we've got about 5 per week that have actually gone through with it. So my challenge this week is 5 more, but all I've said is do 4 of the next 6, and forget the whole donate. I mean, I'm going to donate it to Traders for Cause anyway, but all you got to do is 4 out of the 6. Can you commit to that? Can you change your life, 4 days of your life? Can you do that? And if you can, great. You're well on your way to becoming a better trader. And Zach actually was telling me today, he's like, he talked to a lot of the guys after some of these workouts, and they've been sticking with it for about maybe 2 months now or so, but they didn't realize it. They said it's hand in hand with trading. And, I'm not just making that up. Get your life consistent. Your trading will then become more consistent. So anything that you can do to create the least amount of variables in your life, the better it's going to be. So let's move on. And like I said on the tweets yesterday, do you want trading to be a hobby or do you want it to be a career? And career traders can tell. When they're asked questions about other people, from other people, they can tell who's putting in the work and who's not. So I want you guys to succeed, but I'm here to not sugarcoat anything, and I will kick you in the butt if you deserve it to then, better yourself for down the road. So keep that in mind, just how I am, and I know that everybody's got it in them if they want it, but you just got to light it. So last week, a little bit of a review. IBIO, you guys know. HHT was a great one from Sunday scan, 120 to 180s, or actually 2, like I said. The big one for me was BOXL, BOXL. That was a swing idea from last weekend. I started to, it just kept on working. So I started to scale in a big way. And it ended up being my biggest trade of the year in the IRA. And then also quite a big trade on the short side. So the idea last week was, it started to get a little bit out of hand, and they ended up squeezing everybody out. They squeezed everybody out at the close on Thursday. So it ended up being a great trade. My goal, they had a Samsung event, and my goal that morning was that, I don't really want risk into that event. You never know what they can do. However, it had the SSR on. So my game plan was to box the stock in a trade, so that if and when there was a situation where it slammed, I have the edge. I have the edge because I can hit the bid. Nobody else can, right? So that actually came in handy on Friday, and let me tell you which bullet point it was. On number 4. So if you guys look up what is boxing, Investors Underground, the 4th point is exactly the edge that I had Friday after hours. While everybody was trying to hit the bid, I was able to just hit the bid because I had boxed some of it. So then it slammed down, and I was able to rebox some of it a little bit lower. And I'll get into the whole BOXL idea here shortly on scan. But it's going to be a nice trade this week, and or at least incoming. So I'll get into that when I'm going over some of the stuff for scan. But the level of Kool-Aid, I always like to put out tweets just to kind of get what the responses are. The level of Kool-Aid is on the same par as when the whole M-A-R-K and IZEA people were at their highest level of Kool-Aid drinking. And, obviously the warning was over the 450s, and it ended up fading off. So, it went down to 320s after hours. It probably stabilized for a few days, but we'll get into that in a moment. But as always, we'll just let the stock do the talking. Last week, like I said, BOXL was the biggest swing. I also had the biggest intraday swing of the year, which is not something to be proud of either. You know, the week was great. Don't get me wrong. Everything was great. But I still had, you know, a major gain turn into a loser. And just from the P&L up to the P&L down was not necessary. You know, it wasn't awful. The week, like I said, was phenomenal. But it is still a recheck in with risk. It's a check in with is my game plan still the same? And we've talked about the dials. You know, you should always check. You know, where's my risk? Where's my size? Where's my where are we in the move? And if any of those things are off, you know, you need to adjust them, right? And so anytime there's a low float type name, you always, you know, no matter how much volume is there, you always need to recheck in with the risk department. So EQ was a crazy one. WIMI was a crazy one. And GENE. GENE I'm a little upset about because I was very well behaved and I ended up having a decent chunk at 980s short. I was expecting it to go 7 to 10 parabolic, and it literally did exactly that. Said to turn on the scanners right when it peaked because I felt like it was close. Sized in, and you know, it was a good trade, but then I missed, you know, the next $3 per share because I was also being too safe. So you can't get them all, but with that said, RMBL on Friday, I never actually borrowed it, but that was another one. You know, never forget how thin these things are. Volume always trumps all. You have to remember that. One last note for this week is Tesla earnings are July 22nd after the close. So if you're trading NEO, WKHS, Solo, Blink, you know, there's all these different names that are kind of running off them. Just keep in mind that you know, may or may not be good for it. You know, if Tesla goes to 2,000, then they'll all be off and running. But if not, then, you know, you should be aware. So anyway, let's get into scan. And again, like I said last week, scan is, you know, you've got your bigger picture kind of ideas, but it's really about, you know, fine tuning what you're going to trade that next morning. You know, between 8 and 9, fine tune, you know, exactly what your main watches are. Every morning I do the mic at 8:50 a.m. and I write out, or I say my game plans. I go over the chart. I say exactly what I'm looking to do and how I would react out of the gate, my key levels, what I would risk off of, where I'd be looking for it to fade to. And that's what I do off of open. And then I used scan for the bigger picture ideas. So JE. JE was pretty wild. Now, this is a sign of the times. Normally, I probably wouldn't take, you know, as much as I did. But it was a nice trade. I missed the first move. It came back. It consolidated. So let's zoom in a little bit, if we can. So it ramped up. Tex-Mex had a great alert at 36.5, 35.5, something like that. But ended up going sideways. Looks like they just kind of accumulated everybody, ramped up, consolidated. So I started to absorb all of this and felt good about it, felt good about the potential. And, you know, obviously it just decided to take off. I felt like, you know, if you think about how the market has been, you know that 30 cents to 70 cents is already 100%. So everybody on Monday is going to be like, ooh, you know, 100%. It's not 200 or 300% yet, so it must be a buy. So that was kind of the thought process with that, but also it's kind of, you know, what is the risk and what is the reward? If I can risk a dime to potentially make 50 cents, $1, $1.50, you know, this easily could go $2 or $3. Was it worth that dime risk? Yeah. So that's why I took it. As you guys saw, I posted it. You know, the entry in the mid 60s, low to mid 60s, and then some ads. But sold some 118 and 110, I think. But they shot it up into 140. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think early it could be nuts. What I would be looking for if I were to trade it, you know, beyond this gapper trade that I took, if I were to trade it again or size in, I would probably want to see it kind of slowly fade. and trap, and then it is the type that can go into circuit halts. So in a perfect world, we see this kind of gap up, fade off, 9:45, 10 a.m. There's a lot of trap action, and all of a sudden it just kind of retakes. And because it had the 35-ish close or whatever it was, I don't even know, right around there. Because it had that close, it's going to have a lot of circuit halts, in my opinion, on Monday. So the lower the better. Ideally a trap, and then some type of circuit. It should be a fun one. It should be a great one. I sold a third, like I said, have a position otherwise. HTBX, this one's been great. Huge volume, huge action, but this sector is getting soaked like crazy. IBIO, VXRT, alt, you name it. And these things are getting bought. So that is the difference between, months ago, last year, and now. So you have to be cautious. You have to be aware, like, hey, just because it's ran up a lot does not mean that it has to pull back. And also you need to be on the offensive. It's fine to take these shorts just like I did on Friday, but it's more important to go ahead and lock in into the pullbacks. If you don't, you're going to get ran over, or you're going to have that emotional roller coaster that makes you beat and tired at the end of the day. So the best thing that I did all week was trade size on a lot of these things, but be there. Be there when they flush out. Don't try to be a hero to get that huge unwind, because we're not in the market for that. The big unwinds come after they break the key levels. That's why I always post the key levels in the room. So this one, higher the better. Hopefully we get some squeeze out. Hopefully we get some, crazy action. But be patient. There's got to be a big trade. Your edge is parabolic or backside failed fall through momentum. Neo, I will keep on watch. Neo, it was a nice one. This was a Goldman downgrade. And my thought is maybe we get a little bit of a gap up towards 1170s, maybe even 12. I don't think that high, but and then maybe a fade off. So it was good to us on Friday. I got short on the Goldman note, and it ended up being phenomenal. Of course, I didn't have enough size as usual, but great alert in the room. Very nice and early before the big pullback, and ended up being perfect. So I would be looking for, like I said, a gap up, some type of blow off, and then kind of look to join the fade back. So we'll see what happens with that. And then last but not least, for the main watch is VRNA. Now, VRNA was a great trade, but I also overstayed. So VRNA, it had that look, it had that feel of the squeeze out that, it could maybe be one of the types that goes 18 to 22, but obviously you need to adjust your thoughts as things kind of happen. So I had some great trades on it, bought the pulls, I posted the chart, also had a couple shorts on it, but remained long in the IRA. And so I had bought at 9 and 10 in the IRA, and then I sold half at about 15, I think it was 15.13 when I said it in the room. And it should have gone, it should have gone, it should have gone. There was a lot of volume, and it was my opinion that it needed a breather. It needed to pull back, and I figured it would probably go down, pull back quick to like 1250s. So it ended up rebounding up to the 1320s or so. It stayed relatively heavy, but I had this big picture kind of idea, and I was letting my 9s work, and so anyway, I ended up giving back a decent baby's up, a decent chunk of what I was up, but so now I'm gonna have to come back. So next up is failed fall through momentum. So failed fall through momentum trades, BOXL. I want to be super cautious with getting too aggressive on the short side. They filed 150 million S3 over the weekend, Friday night, late after hours. Obviously, they didn't want anybody to see it, but keep in mind, that doesn't mean they can raise tomorrow, right? So it still needs to become effective. So sometimes people get a little aggressive, just like if you guys remember GNUS, right? People get a little aggressive, they ended up on the wrong side of the trade. Eventually, all the paper is going to come out. Eventually, it's going to matter. So in my opinion, they'll probably try to support the price for a couple days. They'll probably put out a PR of stuff we already know about. They'll probably put out another pump PR. But right now they're in the process of trying to raise as much money as they can while there's demand, while there's interest. So that's what we need to be aware of. That's what we need to be cautious of. But higher the better. Like I said, I reboxed a portion of it. I am hopeful that this pushes up a little bit. I am hopeful that they have a PR, but the writing is on the wall now. So be aware of that, especially if you haven't taken profits. But it was a great swing long trade. And now obviously the tape has shifted a bit. LRN, beautiful trade on Friday. The only thing is it's very thin, so you just have to be cautious of that. I want to trade the open and then leave it alone, or maybe when it breaks down from VWAP later on. It's not a trade that I want to remain in all day. That's twice now that there's been some big moves. There was also one on Thursday. I was short it. I had covered some. It swiped up. I ended up turning a winner into a loser. But I want to be aware of that. I want to be cautious that that's a possibility, that it's easy to get suckered in and just be all day VWAP sideways, risk on, and then just one swipe throws you off. So I think there'll be a decent trade. I think higher the better, and then maybe a pullback. But these things have been holding. So if it stops going down and trend holds 9:45 to 10 a.m., I might take it long for a 50 squeeze out. We'll see what happens. Other than that, we've got UAVS, MVIS. Very similar kind of thought process. I'm not looking to find the top. I'm just looking higher the better, and then look for failed follow through momentum. Look where it starts to support throughout the day, wait for it to fail, wait for it to end up under that support, and then I will be using the highs as my risk. And last but not least, on the failed follow through, IBIO, which I would say, there's a good chance that there's a lot of continuation here. This fits into that category of ones that are getting absorbed. VXRD, Alt, all these names right now. So this could easily go 455. But my point of putting it under the failed follow-through section is that I don't want to jump in front of it. I will jump in front of a parabolic, but most importantly, I think the key trade will be on failed follow-through momentum. Continuation trades, I'm going to go through these rather quickly. HHT, you guys know the game plan was from Sunday scan. It was down here. I have minimal left. I am still looking, though, if dips start to hold over 160, 170s, I'd love to kind of reposition and get an entry there. SPCE, I have continuation just because I think a weak open could still produce a nice push. But then I'd like to flip short at some point. So I tried it short a few times. It was an okay fader, but didn't really turn into much. Nice little ABCD grinder. But I'd be looking for more of the same. Right now it's kind of in go mode. Don't underestimate it. Great volume, 50 million in the last couple days. So we could definitely have some more breakout. PDSB. This one I had sold some into the push. You'll notice the similarity between this and HHT and all these other charts that I'm looking at. Same thing, CLSK. Big moves, huge volume, come back, consolidate, and then start to go. I want to pick up those dips as long as the overall trend holds. So just like PDSB, I said 250s. I want to see 250s consolidate. 250s consolidates, I'm interested. RYAM. Nice ABCD type kind of setting up, maybe around 320s as the first trigger, and then obviously 350s as the secondary trigger. PRPO, same thing, big move over here, so there's interest, pulls back, comes back to the daily VWAP, and then what interested me on Friday is there's a buyer on the tape. You can see that somebody's accumulating. So dips that hold, I'm interested, and let's see what happens from there. ARC, same thing I kind of mentioned earlier. We've got that huge volume day, and then it gets soaked up the next day. So obviously on the daily, 140 is going to be a super, super key level. But there's no reason to chase this. I don't want to own it if it can't hold 110 over and under. And then I will look for some type of breakout over 140. So again, be patient. There's no reason to be paying up for this thing. There's no reason to be chasing this thing. As long as it continues trend like HHT, it might take a couple days, but as it breaks those key levels, that's where I get more and more interested in. IBIO, you guys know this one. Been talking about it for quite some time. I had a position on it. I sold some into the 7 break on Friday, but I'm looking for continuation. And again, key levels probably around that 750, 770 level. If you look left back to June and late June or so. Other than that, as you guys know, if you click the link, I have Staying Familiar section. Staying Familiar is all these charts that I set price alerts for. It doesn't mean that I have a plan right now. mRNA, for example, I want to be alerted at 98, 99, 100, 101. I want to be alerted at 95, 94, 93, 92. I want to stay familiar with it so that I can go ahead and take advantage when and if those price alerts hit. And I've got a few others. eBay has been great. VXRT, ALT, OPK, and VBIV are going to be fantastic trades. I just don't think the trade is ready yet. So I want to stay familiar. I want to make sure that I'm staying familiar with the charts so that they don't fall off radar. So I always set price alerts right in IU. It'll alert me right in the room and say, hey, price alert hit. So again, that's the game plan for this week. I want 5 people this week for Avidity Fitness to commit. You don't have to be an IU member. You don't have to be, anything. I just want 5 people that are going to show their commitment and do 4 of the next sessions with Zach. It's absolutely free and $250 donation to Traders for a Cause if you complete it. So it's a good way to make a difference without really having to do anything except make your health a little bit better. So that's where I'm at this week. Again, Monday, everybody comes out crazy. Everybody's swinging, looking for the next big winner. So, again, brakes on, get a clear head, come in focus, because, I've been known to, Saturday, Sunday, I'm ready to go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. 7 a.m., something starts running, and you're already zoned in and focused on a trade that's not working. And then the 3 or 4 names that you were prepared for worked perfectly, but you're focused on this crap because you were too, excited about it being Monday. You wanted to be in a trade, and it took all your focus, and you missed those 4 layup trades that would have been a headacheless day, and instead your FOMO got you. So think about that tomorrow. Last but not least, like I said at the start, I can be, a hard ass, but it is in good fashion. It's not. I'm not being mean. It is something that I wish I had. I wish I had that kind of direction as I started. I would have been, leaps and bounds ahead of where I am today at a much earlier time. So, David Goggins' book, highly recommend. One other one, I think it's Living with a Seal, that I haven't. Living with a Seal. My neighbor told me about this, and I'm going to actually probably do it today and listen to it on the beach. But I guess David Goggins went to live with a guy for a month and whipped him into shape. So it'll be an interesting listen to, especially coming off of Goggins. So I listened to Goggins maybe like a year ago, maybe a year and a half. And from that point, I started to put, the whole gym thing first. And that really accelerated my trading. Because it gives you that just consistency that you need. So, and again, just like I said, if you can't be consistent with working out, don't expect to be consistent as a trader. Leave comments. You guys left comments or questions last time on the comment section, so I will review those. Also, leave comments and questions this time. If you want me to answer, I'm going to try to compile a bunch of questions and answer them this week at some point. And as always, leave a thumbs up on the video. So that's it. We'll see you guys in the room on Monday and 8:50 a.m. as always. Have the stream up and the broadcast going, and we'll have a full game plan and get into the zone. See you guys then.